you're saying it one-sided. You're not telling the other side of the story on what they're doing either. You're not saying what Hamas did. You're not saying what they did.
What did Hamas do?
I mean, from day one, when you see the rapes and the videos, we've all seen it. This isn't something
What rapes and videos?
But stay on this here if you want to continue with this.
But what rapes and videos?
But my concern when you're saying Israel's doing it, you're saying the other side isn't doing anything.
No, but I'm asking. No. There was no rapes during October 7th. They've shown no rapes from October 7th. They showed no beheaded babies. All that was all bullshit.
I'll send you stuff. No, there's plenty of stories. It's not all of them.
The Israeli articles that I saw recently said that there was only 2 babies killed. One was shot by a bullet, and the other one died in a hospital. There was no babies in ovens. There was no beheaded babies. All that was all bullshit.
Analyst or veteran debater? Nope. It was Dan Bilzerian, of all people. Dan walked onto the Valuetainment set and completely tore apart Patrick's talking points on Palestine, so sharp it was like Patrick was buffering in real time. None of his usual excuses landed. That whole "everyone's seen the footage" line totally fell apart. And for the first time, Patrick Bet David's debate facade cracked right there on camera, splitting straight down the middle. Stick around, because I'm going to break down exactly how Dan used Patrick's own claims against him, and why the internet is calling this the biggest self-inflicted disaster in Valuetainment history. But before we jump in, tell me where you're watching from. City, country, whatever. I want to shout some of you out in the next upload. And of course, hit like, subscribe, and tap that bell, because what you're about to see, absolutely unbelievable.
Every country, the big ones all have lobbyists. They all have lobbying that they're doing.
Not in the U.S. They're registered as foreign entities.
Right. I mean, if you're talking about, are you going to the dual citizenship part with Israel, Israel?
That's another problem is a lot of our politicians have far more allegiance to Israel than they do the United States. I mean, that's a whole nother issue as well.
Do you know why they did the dual citizenship? Do you know the history behind why they did the dual citizenship?
What do you mean?
Like, so the whole concept of dual citizenship was because when Israel became a, country again, they didn't want the people from here who wanted to go back to Israel that didn't have a motivation to go if they were going to lose their citizenship here. So that was the reason why they did it. It was kind of like, okay, you're your own country. We kind of need some of you guys to move over there to help the country out. Yeah, but I'm not going to go. Why are you not going to go? Am I going to lose my citizenship here? But you are. I mean, we don't do that. Every other country, I don't want to lose my citizenship. Well, okay, how about if we do this? How about if we allow you, just Israel, to go back to your country, you won't lose your citizenship? That was the arrangement at the beginning why they did it that way.
No, look, I get it. I have 3 citizenships. You know what I mean? I think it's okay. I think
what's the third one? I know Armenia, but what's the...
St. Kitts.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't have an issue with dual citizenship. My issue is when somebody is holding a U.S. office and they are putting a foreign nation's interest before America's interest, and they are favoring that other country. And so that, to me, is treason. Like, when you are a U.S. government official, your motivation should be to do things in the best interest of the government that you are representing, not 100%. Some other fucking foreign country. And that's the problem.
Okay, so, but go through it. So what is the solution? Meaning, if Israel's the enemy, then if let's just say you don't do anything and everybody in the Middle East unites to take out Israel, do you think the Middle East is better without Israel? And do you think the world's a safer place without Israel?
100%. It's not even close.
Okay, tell me why. Why do you think?
Give me an argument otherwise. Please. But give me one argument why the world would be better off with Israel. Let's just start with that. One thing. Give me one thing.
Have you ever lived in the Middle East?
No.
I lived there for 10.5 years. It's a very, it's not as like here. You can sit here, you can be an atheist, you can be an agnostic, I can be a Christian, he can be a Jew, he can be an LDS, Muslim, no problem. We can coexist here. You can do that in Israel. You can do that.
I mean, not really. They're operating apartheid right now. So everybody's not living equally.
Not at the level of Iran. Not at the level of what Iran is doing. I mean, in Iran, if you're thinking what Israel is doing out of control, do you know how much money Khamenei's family's made? Do you know how much money they've taken? They have 200.
I've never been to Iran, but I've been to Dubai. I've been to Saudi. Like I've been to UAE. So like, and they're all Muslim. They seem to be operating fine.
I would say Iran's slightly different than. But go back to it. So okay, so you think the Middle East and the world would be a better place if Israel didn't exist?
Yes.
Okay.
Israel's committed, so many terrorist attacks. They're stealing land right now. They're operating in apartheid. They're currently committing a genocide on Palestinians? Like, do you believe in the genocide they're committing?
I think they're fighting for themselves and they're defending themselves.
Do you think that's defense?
Well,
when 1,200 people died, and of which the 1,200 you've killed and admitted that you've killed a lot during, your Hannibal.
I will tell you this. The part I question where people who are Jewish can't stand when I say this, I don't know how you, Netanyahu, claim you have the best intelligence in the world, Mossad, and you didn't know that on October 7th they were attacking
They knew about it. They didn't. They wanted it to happen, so they had a reason to take that. They wanted a reason to take the land.
I totally get it.
And they killed their own citizens. And they claimed that all these people got raped. That was bullshit. They claimed beheaded babies. That was bullshit. Everything that they said was a fucking complete. Not only was it a lie, but they committed all those atrocities themselves to the Palestinians and been caught doing it. In fact, they just got caught gang raping Palestinians. How many babies have they killed? All the things that they accuse the Palestinians of or Hamas of or whatever, they're guilty of 100-fold themselves. And they've been doing that. Like October 7th wasn't the start of this. Like the start of this was Nakba. They've done so many different.
Disagree. Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah, so I mean, this is not like, it's not like October 7th is like, it's all of a sudden they just came over there unsolicited and just killed people. Like they had been killing Palestinians for years and years, operating two sets of justice. It's like they have the justice for the Palestinians and the justice for the Israelis. And if you read the Talmud, like, if you're not Jewish, you're basically not a human. You're like, like cattle. If a Jew is killed by, somebody that's not Jewish, then it's the death penalty. If a Jew kills somebody that's not a Jew, then, you can't kill them. It's not the death penalty. Like they literally like segregate in their Bibles.
They're very protective of themselves. I don't think anybody can debate that. I don't think it's a...
Well, it's not the problem isn't that they're protective of themselves. The problem comes when you think that you're better than other people and you think it's okay to lie to anybody that's not a Jew. You think it's okay to steal from people that are not a Jew. You have two sets of standards. The problem with that is it allows you to rationalize anything, right? And human beings are generally self-serving creatures. So if your fundamental religious belief system allows you to operate in such a way that you believe there isn't consequences to stealing from other people, killing other people, kids that are under 9 years old, like if you think those things are okay, then, how are you going to operate? Because to me, like my moral code keeps me on track.
I don't think that's what it is. I don't think it's because you're saying it one-sided. You're not telling the other side of the story on what they're doing either. You're not saying what Hamas did. You're not saying what they did.
What did Hamas do?
I mean, from day one, when you see the rapes and the videos, we've all seen it. This isn't something
what rapes and videos?
But stay on this here if you want to continue with this.
But what rapes and videos?
But my concern when you're saying Israel's doing it, you're saying the other side isn't doing anything.
No, but I'm asking. There was no rapes during October 7th. They've shown no rapes from October 7th. They showed no beheaded babies. All that was all bullshit.
I'll send you stuff. No, there's plenty of stories. It's not all of them.
The Israeli articles that I saw recently said that there was only 2 babies killed. One was shot by a bullet, and the other one died in a hospital. There was no babies in ovens. There was no beheaded babies. All that was all bullshit.
Patrick bet David's performance in this debate becomes even more revealing when you slow down and really pay attention, not just to what he says, but to what he avoids saying, what he dodges, and what he clearly hopes the audience doesn't notice. The cracks in his argument show immediately the moment Dan Bilzerian asks questions that demand more than the recycled talking points Patrick leans on whenever things get uncomfortable. Patrick presents himself as a logic-driven, evidence-focused thinker, someone who values verification and critical evaluation of claims, but that persona falls apart the second he's pressed to defend statements that don't hold up against real-world data, documented reports, or even official Israeli statements. The first major collapse comes when he leans on the emotional shock narratives following October 7th, the viral stories of mass rapes, beheadings, and other atrocities. Dan calls him out directly. Where's the evidence? Where are the investigations? Where are the forensic reports? Suddenly, the man who prides himself on evidence starts stammering, offering vague assurances like, "We've all seen the videos, I'll send you stuff," which is a clear sign he doesn't actually have sources to back him up. It gets worse when you consider that many of those early claims were later retracted or debunked by Israeli authorities themselves, not fringe reporting, but official statements. Yet Patrick continues presenting them as unquestionable fact, showing that he isn't arguing from truth, but from a need for a narrative to stay intact. The next fracture in his reasoning comes when Dan challenges him on Israel's treatment of Palestinians. He raises the apartheid issue, not some activist talking point, but a classification acknowledged by major human rights organizations, Israeli NGOs, and former officials. Yet Patrick waves it away as if it's an exaggeration. Instead of grappling with documented dual legal systems, one for settlers, one for Palestinians under occupation, he treats the word apartheid like an insult rather than a documented reality. Patrick also tries to frame Israel as necessary for regional safety, but he ignores measurable evidence. Displacement, UN resolutions, Israel's nuclear arsenal, its history of regional conflicts, and documented civilian casualties. His personal experience in Tel Aviv cafes is offered as proof, but comfort in one city does not negate decades of occupation, bombings, and oppression elsewhere. Perhaps the most glaring failure is Patrick's refusal to address the power imbalance. Israel is a military superpower with full U.S. backing, controlling borders, airspace, water, and resources. Yet Patrick keeps repeating slogans like, "They're defending themselves," without acknowledging proportionality, occupation, or international law. Even when Dan brings up American officials and dual loyalties, Patrick resorts to sentimental historical tangents instead of engaging with the real issue, the political influence of pro-Israel lobbying in shaping U.S. foreign policy. He avoids the uncomfortable truth that acknowledging that power imbalance would collapse the narrative he's trying to protect. By the end, Patrick stops looking like a serious debater and starts looking like someone desperately trying to protect an image rather than engage with reality. Dan isn't outsmarting him. He's simply unburdened by the need to defend a narrative, which makes Patrick's reliance on slogans, hypotheticals, and repetition all the more revealing. At that point, it's clear he's not defending facts.